Hey y'all, Mandy with Blume Haus here. I am super excited to be doing this May Day flower workshop with you guys. It is a very fun and spring arrangement. It has lots of texture and bold and bright colors, and it is just difficult enough to be able to teach, but not so difficult that anybody with no experience can't do it. Before we get started, we're going to go through everything that you should have out here in front of you. And if you need a moment to pause the video at any point in time to gather something or like rewatch or what did I say, feel free to do that. That's the beauty of doing a pre-recorded workshop that you can go at your own leisure. I will also show you like very close-ups and lots of different angles as we're doing things so you can get a really good idea of what it is that we're doing and what I'm explaining. Also, your recipe card is a really good reference as well. It's going to show you a picture of the completed arrangement, so you have the end goal in mind. So if you're not quite sure where you're supposed to be placing something, you can also reference the photo to get a little closer up detail on that. So let's get started. First and foremost, you would have included in your workshop kit a brick of Oasis foam, and you're supposed to soak it before we start the workshop. If you haven't yet, go ahead and take a moment and throw it in a bucket or a bowl of water and just let it absorb naturally. I also have just a bucket here to act as my trash can. We're going to make a mess, so having somewhere to like put your cut ends and just kind of sweep things into is really helpful. Also, having paper towels is a great idea. You'll also need a knife, or actually, you know what? You're not going to need a knife, but it might come in handy. Any kind of kitchen knife, any way you can cut into this foam is going to be just fine. You'll want your shears. Scissors do work, but it will be a little bit more difficult, especially on these kind of more woody stems. So shears are preferred. If you don't have them, then you can run out and get them at any really any garden place. I think you could even buy them at Walmart. But these are the kind we use. They're ergonomical. They're Japanese. So this is what we use. You should have your vessel that was included with your kit. And then your flowers. Before we start anything, we're going to prep our vase. Oh, and your recipe card. Make sure to have that out and handy so you can see as we go through things. So what we're going to do, obviously the foam does not go into the vessel like this. We're going to go ahead and do it the long and fat way. And as you can tell, our brick is square and our vessel is oblong. So if you don't like to kind of smush and go, you can use your kitchen knife and just round off corners. So, excuse me, I'm a little stuffy today. Just kind of fits into your vessel a little bit more snugly without kind of pushing it on through. So you don't need to take off much, just those little corners. And then we're just going to plop it in there. You can just give it a little pat just to get it all nice and snug in there. It's not going to be a total fit, which is great because this is going to allow extra water to be in there and just super hydrate your flowers when we're done. That'll be the very last instruction I give you, is to fill your arrangement with water. This little bit that's poking up here is perfectly fine. We don't need to do anything about that. Now that our vessel is prepped though, we're going to put it off to the side. And we're going to prep our flowers. And the reason why we do this, go through and clean up all of our flowers first, is so that once we start designing, then we don't have to pause in order to clean our flowers. We can just let our creative juices flow and get in there and just really design without being interrupted. So let's go through what you have, and you can compare it with your recipe card. You should have 2 blue hydrangea. Oopsie. Right here. Then you're going to have 3 hot pink roses. These are specifically called hot spot. one of our favorites. You should have 3 stems of yellow spray roses. You should have 3 stems of Matsumoto asters. And some of them have like really, really thin necks, and so they look wobbly. That's just their nature. It's not because it's sick or dying. It's just got a really, really heavy head for such a small and thin, weak neck, weak stem. So unless he is broken like that guy, then they're going to be just fine. So like this guy, he's fine. He's just heavy. And then you should have 3 snapdragon, variegated pizzicorum, and your status. Let me go grab mine. Here we go. This is called status, but more specifically is called misty blue lemonium. Not linoleum, lemonium. So it does not smell very good, I must admit, but it is very, very beautiful in arrangements. It's very spring-like, and it's a great alternative to baby's breath, which we're not a big fan of around here. All right, so we're going to, like I said, clean up all of our flowers. Cautionary tale, note to self, disclaimer. That's the word I'm looking for, disclaimer. All of these flowers came straight from our wholesaler, just the way they look to you right now. And you're getting the full florist experience, and we have to clean up these flowers to really make them shine and bloom and look great in your arrangement. So that is what we're going to do. We'll start with an easy one, your hydrangea. Fun little fact, hydrangea starts with hydra, which is water. Hydrangeas love, 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 love water. And they can absorb it through their stem like a normal flower, but it also can absorb it through its petals, unlike most other flowers. So if your hydrangea is sad or wimp or weepy, you can submerge the entire thing into a bucket of water, and within an hour or so, it's going to come back to life. Not always, but more times than not. That's what can happen. You can also, if it's in your arrangement, you can give it a little spritz just on its head, and that will help liven it up too. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take off all of these leaves, and this will be a tip for all of our leaf deleafing. We're not going to pull from the leaf out here, because a lot of times it's going to be connected to something else, and it's going to pull off part of the flower that you didn't want it to. So a good little theory is to always use your thumb and index finger and go right next to the stem and go just the opposite direction and snap it right off. So we're going to take off all of these ones, even the little guys up here. Because what happens is these extra leaves just carry bacteria, and they're going to go bad faster than the rest of the flower. And then it'll cause your flower to go bad faster too. Also, we don't want anything disrupting going into our foam later. And if we have leaves here, it's just going to kind of crush through our foam. So go ahead and deleaf your hydrangeas. If you have any kind of bad spots on your hydrangeas, like anything with a little brown spot, I don't know if you can see this. Let's see, right back there. You see that guy? That's just a little bit of decay. It's very normal for hydrangeas to have little spots occasionally. The really cool thing is you can just pick these off, and you wouldn't even know that you had given your hydrangea a haircut. So like literally, you can just pick off anywhere, and you can't even see that you did it. Sorry, we're in the shop today, and the phone goes off occasionally. So these are your hydrangeas, nice and cleaned up. We'll put them off to the side. Next, we're going to do our snapdragons. And a super fun thing about this, if you have any blooms down here at the bottom, these were the first to open, so they're the first to go bad naturally. But the rest of your bloom is still going to be fine. So we'll just pick off a few of these blooms here at the bottom that are not so hot. And then super fun and satisfying moment. See if I can do this without making a big old mess. You're going to take your thumb and index finger and kind of make a little cusp around your flower, and then just gently pull all the way down. And I all collected in my hand. And no leaves. If you do have like some little hanging pieces, that's fine. Just pull them right off. And I'll show you again. We'll take off a few of those dirty blooms at the bottom. Thumb and index finger right around, and then all the way down. Whoop, all clean. So go ahead and do that with your last one as well. Perfecto. All clean. And we'll put these over here with our hydrangeas. Let's go on to your spray or your roses. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to just peel off any of the leaves. Just be careful. Again, these ones got a heavy head with a thin stem. So just be gentle and careful with it. If you do happen to break it, pretty close up at the top, that's okay. We can still use him. He's still salvageable. We'll just find a home for him. If you have any thorns, like that guy, the easiest way is just to take your thumb along the side and just snap them right off. Right like that. If that makes you nervous, you can always use your clippers and you can just snip them right along there. Now that you've got all the leaves and thorns off, you're going to go up here to your rose and you're going to notice that these petals are not so good looking. Honestly, with the hot pinks, we don't have them as much, but these petals are called guard petals, and that's what they do. They guard the rest of the rose from getting dirty, damaged, all of that good stuff. So us as florists, to make our flowers shine, we're going to take off those little guard petals. So only things that are bent, bruised, have any kind of decay on them, we're just going to use our thumb and index finger and peel it off right at the base. These guys, the green things here at the bottom, are called the calyx, and they are where the bud formed initially while it was growing. It does not matter if they are up or down. As long as they're not bruised or broken, they are perfectly fine. This is also not an indicator of age. Any florist that tells you that is lying. So, like for example, see, this one is nice and tight on the calyx, and this one is not. These came from the same bunch, probably right next to each other in the field. They're sisters, and they look completely different as far as their calyx health goes. If you, for whatever reason, have a bad petal here on the inside, I don't know if you can see that one. Let's see. Like right there. I've got a little tear on mine. I'm just going to reach in there with my fingers very carefully onto the inside as deep as I can go. And I'm just going to pluck out that one little bad petal. See, it was torn. But the whole rest of the rose is perfectly fine. Now we're going to cut this about halfway, about 12 inches or so, just to start, because we're going to open this guy up. So you can blow in a circular pattern all the way into the inside. Ooh, he already opened up really good. Or you can put him upside down in between your hands and use centrifugal force to help open them up. So I want to show you what our open rose versus our non-opened rose looks like. So, opened rose, not opened rose. See the difference? So we want to see as much of the flower as we possibly can and help him shine. So go ahead and do that with the other two roses that you have. And if you get them nice and open by just blowing, then you're totally good. You don't have to spin all of your roses. But it's sometimes really fun too. If when you're spinning, you get a puddle that goes kind of AWOL, that's okay. Don't worry about it. He wasn't going to stick around anyway. Again, you're only taking the petals off if they're bruised, broken, or damaged. And this one, all of his guard petals looks just fine. Look at how beautiful he is. So pretty. All right, next we're going to go to our spray roses. And it's the same thing as far as thorns and leaves. We're just going to take off all the little leaves all the way up. These teeny tiny little ones are fine, or you can take them off too. It doesn't really matter. If you have, let's see, any stem that like lost its bloom, we'll go ahead and just snip that guy out. A lot of these yellow ones are not going to have any guard petals that you need to really take off. Spray roses are pretty good like that. So we're just going to take off the leaves. If you have any damaged petals, we're just going to take a quick little inspection to make sure. If you do, you can go ahead and remove them. But now we have really good, cleaned up spray roses. It's amazing how much more the flowers shine when you take off all the leaves. Next, we're going to go to our Matsumoto asters. And you should have 3 stems of these. And I want you to take note that they, like I said, have pretty floppy stems, but they also kind of go to one direction. So we're going to use that to our advantage when it comes to our arrangement. Some of them, most of them are going to come on like long trendles, all connected to one little stem. We're just going to cut those long trendles off of the main stem so they're all individuals. And then if you have any leaves up here, we'll just go ahead and gently take those off. They decay really fast, so we just want to make sure that we remove anything that's going to shorten the lifespan of our flowers. If you have shorter guys like this one, he's okay too to cut him as an individual. We'll have room for him. Now, this guy and his brother right here, they're broken. They got too heavy for too long without any support. So these guys are trash. But the other 2 on here are just fine. These are so cute. Alrighty. As long as we've got, 5 to 6 inches of a stem, then we're going to be just fine. As long as you have about 5 blooms that you've got that are usable, you're going to be just fine as well. Oh, all the spam calls. Yuck. Alrighty. Clean up the space a little bit. Now we've got our all cleaned up. Oh, on these back greens, we're not going to clean those up. That is part of the flower. If you start removing that, you're going to have the whole flower disintegrate. So that's basically like the calyx on the back of the rose. So we don't remove those unless it's really decayed. And at that point, it's probably not a good flower to use anyway when it's these Matsumoto asters. So asters are of the daisy family. They're just a little different though, as you can see. Now, our German status, we're going to leave for later because this is a different kind of monster to describe. And it's really hard to explain it unless I'm showing it to you when we're making the arrangement. So we're just going to leave those off to the side. They're the last thing we put in anyway. Next, we're going to use our greenery. So this is variegated pizzicorum. Variegated means 2-toned. So as you can see, you've got 2 different tones on these leaves. And they've come in all sorts of different shapes and sizes. What we are looking for is the first thing is we're looking for short pieces that will rim our vase. And then we'll have slightly bigger ones, just slightly, that will fill in the backside of our arrangement since it's a little bit more of a front-facing arrangement. So you kind of have to look at what you have in order to determine your plan. Knowing that we need mostly small and short and just a few longer ones, what we do is we cut this down into smaller, more manageable pieces. And what we do is we look for breaks in the foliage. So for example, this guy all the way down to about right here is a really good longer piece. So I'm going to cut flush here and then treat this guy as his own individual. So now I want to remove these bottom leaves. So it's the same way we did the snapdragons, just thumb and forefinger, right like that. And now I have him to use as an individual. So we want a couple that are longer like this, 5 to 6 inches. Everything else we want to be a little bit shorter, more like 3 to 4 inches. And we want at least an inch in order to go into the foam of clear stem, clear with no foliage. And so we want a whole pile of this. So take a minute. And if you want to pause your video now to get this all done, you can. We're going to go through and just make a good old pile of greenery. So this guy is too long. Let me cut off for what we want. So let me show you. Don't do this yet. I'm just showing you what we're looking for and why. So we're going to rim our vase like this all the way around, and we call it hiding the magic. So that's why we want this pile of really short pieces. Is if they go too long, then they're going to hinder the other stems from getting into the foam. So we want just a whole bunch of really short guys that can go around. All right, so I will demonstrate again. So for this one, I've got this trindle. These leaves are erroneous. So I'm just going to take them off so you can see better. This trindle here, I can use as an individual, right like that. And actually, in reality, if I look closer here, I've got a blank stem that's 2 to 3 inches that I can use separate there too. So this is what we're kind of looking for. A whole bunch of these little guys. So this one is great. I'm just going to take off these extra little leaves way down here. So we have just the top. So go through and make all these little snippets. Like I said, you want a big old pile of them, and then a few of longer pieces. There's my longer piece. There we go. A few meaning like 3 or 4 will be perfectly fine. So this guy, he's too bushy to be like a really tall one. I mean, he could, but we're going to use him as a short. And so we're going to take off these extra leaves. So he's just a little bushy at the top. It's real important that these stay short, because if they start getting too tall, then they're really going to change how the rest of your arrangement comes together. And I think a piece of my greenery just took a dive over there. Let me go grab that. There we go. All right. So, oops, piece I missed. Now that we have all of our greenery cut and ready to go, we're ready to design. So go ahead and pull your arrangement out. And this is where having that recipe card is going to be really handy too. So make sure you have that visible. I'm going to make the arrangement backwards. So it's the way you should be seeing yours. We're going to start with our hydrangea. I'm going to cut it just a little bit shorter so I can show you the visual. What you want to do is you want to visualize about where you want the flowers to be in your arrangement. Let's see. Don't cut yours yet. I'm showing you. So these first two hydrangeas are going to be kind of staggered, right, like this. And so we're going to kind of visualize where to cut our stems. So we want them to go at least a couple of inches into the foam. And so visualizing that, I'm going to cut my stem here in order for it to kind of sit like this in the vessel. Now, we're going to think of our vessel as a front, middle, and back side. So the front obviously being the front section here, and then the middle being where I kind of drew that line, and then the back is back this side. So this is the front that's facing you. Remember, I'm doing this backwards. So facing you, and then the back should be on the back side. So again, for our hydrangeas, we're going to put these on your, let's see, thinking about it backwards. So yes, your right side. And we're gonna put our first one in the front section. So pat just in front of that middle line at a small angle. And we're gonna push it down until the head is almost touching. That's the back side, okay? And then this is how the front should look. So it should be off to the side at an angle. Be gentle when you're pushing it into the foam. If you cracked any of these, that is gonna be something that you wanna cut out. Like if you broke a little broccoli head, is what we call them. Now we've disrupted the water source. And unfortunately with hydrangeas, that means that little section is going to die. So you would just remove it and keep the rest of the floral. Most of the time, we're going to try and push our stems in as close to this foam as possible, guiding it right here and giving it as much support versus pushing from way up here. So our next one, we want to kind of stagger just above and to the side of our first hydrangea. So this one, indeed, we are going to put at that halfway point. So just above and behind. So we have this really kind of cool staggered effect, like a little waterfall. So this is how it should look. This is your back. And if we're looking, this is how the top should look. Now we're going to rim everything with our pizzaporum. I did this so that we didn't waste any pizzaporum over here where our hydrangea was overflowing. So just start from where your hydrangea ends, and we want to go right on top of the vessel. So we're going to be hiding all of that foam. And you don't have to be exactly on top of each other. These guys are fluffy, so they will take up some room. And just go all the way around. See, I've got all that room on the top. If you run out of stems for whatever reason, just make them a little bit more spread apart. No worries there. Make sure to leave your longer stems for later. All right, so now we've got a nice little collar, is what we call it. But the top is still open. We'll fill it in, don't worry. All right, so next we're going to do our a row of our spray roses right here. And so we're going to kind of visualize that we want them nice and nestled on the same playing field as our hydrangeas. We don't want them like super tucked in like this, and we don't want them out like that because we won't have enough room in our arrangement. And also profile, that's not going to look very good. We want them nestled in the same field. All right, so excuse me. I'm going to kind of visualize where that's going to be. And you want it to come from the front all the way up the hydrangea. So we want here, here, and here. Now these you're going to do at a 45-degree angle. And the way you can kind of visualize that is it's facing your face. So we want to see the biggest beauty of all. So it's facing your face, and that is the correct angle. So you can see nestled in there, tucked, same playing field. There they are. Next one will go right above that. And then the last one will go just above that one. So now that last insertion should be right around that middle line that I drew on the foam. Can you see that? That's the line right there. And then that's my last insertion point. So then we've got this nice little row of hydrangea or spray roses. Next, we're going to do our Snapdragon. And the only reason we're doing that is so that we can kind of connect the tall to short. So our Snapdragon, cut these a little shorter, we're going to have staggered like this in our arrangement. So you can pick your most beautiful side. And we can also go with them because they kind of are bendy. So if you want to like reconfigure and kind of go with nature instead of against it, that's always a good idea too. So yeah, something like that. So we want to connect from our top Snapdragon all the way down to our hydrangea. And this will help us now visualize where to cut if we want it to be like this and in our arrangement. So about that tall. And if I want to be shorter, then I'm going to do that one. And this is in the left-hand third of your foam. And then this last little one is going to go behind your spray roses, but he's still going to be above it. All right. If for whatever reason, I should have covered this earlier, you don't like where you put it, like this guy, I feel like I put too low. You can't just pull him out to be taller now, because what happened is you made a little pocket. Let's see. You made a little pocket. Oh, backwards. There we go. When you pulled him up, you made this little air pocket in the foam, and now he's not touching the water source. So if you don't like where you put it, you need to take it out and make a new hole. And that's okay. That is the reason why we do foam, especially for our workshops, is because it's forgiving and things stay exactly where you put them. So I'm going to come over just a little bit more. There we go. So right like that. Now we're going to do our Matsumoto. No, you know what? I think we're going to do our regular roses. So these we also want staggered, just in a nice little row. So in this one, you're still going to do the 45-degree angle, and you're going to get him again on the same playing field. Did not get that 45-degree angle. This first one you want pretty short. You only want about 4 inches because he's going in the very front. And there we go. That's a 45-degree angle. And we're going to make kind of a triangle pattern with these guys. So I'm going to do one on top, or one on bottom, one on top, and then one here off to the side. Right like that. And then our Matsumoto Asters will finish this look over here. So you take these guys, and remember how they've got a direction. So you'll want to make sure you're facing outward. And we're going to fill in around and down from our hot pink spray or our hot pink roses. And as long as you've got a good little cluster of them, you're going to be just fine. If you've got a heavy head, you can support it with on the other stems. Now, make sure you're not poking through a leaf, because that will also block water from going up. And we can come out pretty good on the side of our Snapdragons. This completes the front of your arrangement until we put this in. I want to show you the back side real quick, because this is not Blume Haus acceptable, where you can see the unfinished stems and you can still see down into the foam. That's where your larger, longer stems of Pizziforum come in. So you're just going to tuck those in and hide the back side of your arrangement. We call it hiding the magic. So no matter what angle you look at it from, you're going to see a finished product. And this is super important, not only in our everyday work for retail, but we teach this with our designers on our event work too, because you never know how somebody's going to view your florals and or photograph them. So we are going to cover it all. So now you can't see any yucky stems or foam, but we're still not quite done because we have our lemonium. So as you can see, this is a really big branch, lack of better term, stem, that has all these different shoots. So literally you can just pull them down from the main stem in order to get more workable stems. And you're going to have probably more than you actually need here. But what we're looking for is about 6 or so inches of stem. You can take off the extra because we just want the fluffy tops. And you can even put them in together as a group or singles as individuals. And we're just going to kind of dust this throughout our arrangement, and it's going to transform how it looks. This stuff will actually dry just the way it looks. So it's not super important that it has really, really good contact with the foam. I'm going to show you also, I've got a little hole right there. So that's specifically what I'm going to fill up with. If I needed a little piece of greenery, I could do it there too, but we'll do it with a little bit of lemonium. Thought I could do it without looking at it directly. Here we go. So you can do as much or as little of this stuff as you want. There is no right or wrong. well, there is wrong. We don't want to see this. That does not look good. That is not a Blume Haus arrangement. You can add it here with your snaps. There we go. Some people love this stuff. Some people don't like it. I personally love it. So one last little piece that I can see. Alrighty. And there you have your beautiful May Day arrangement. If you are so inclined, if you're on social media, tag us and show us your beautiful arrangement. The biggest thing is do not forget to water him. If you have a water softener at home, try not to use water that's gone through your faucet. The flowers will not like that, and they're going to die within a day or two. They like all those minerals and stuff that come in water from the hose or bottled water. So you also got a water conditioning packet in your kit, so you can use that to water them. But it's real easy when you can't see the water line to forget to water it. So make sure to water these guys and enjoy it as long as you can. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you had a great time. Bye.